Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, a podcast about leaving self-doubt in the dust, punching fear in the face, and taking bold action toward your biggest dreams. I'm Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass, and with me today is my new friend, Abbie Nwaocha. Oh, we've been practicing so that I could say the name correctly. Hopefully I got it, because names are important, people. Learn people's names. It's a sign of respect. That end of impromptu rants there. Anyway, right, tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all.
So, hi, everyone. Abbie Nwaocha. Okay, so I'm going to start introducing myself with like the tragic backstory first, which is like I am this person who is so full of herself that I feel like if I do something and I'm like, I've got it, this, I can do this, I've aced it. I'm to that point where I'm like, I can do anything. Let's make a business out of this. Mm-hmm. And so I learned like Photoshop tutorials via YouTube, and I was like, oh my God, I got this. It looks perfect. Like, oh my God, my designs are the best. Literally walked up to a company with like an empty CV. Not this resume that's just like a summary, like, hi, I'm an accomplished, ambitious self-starter. That's plus like my name, my email address, my phone number, the course I was taking, and my lecturer's name and phone number as my reference. That was my CV.
Wow.
I know. So like honestly, nobody would have hired me with that, but then I attached like my portfolio of some designs I had done, and I got a job. So I got a job at a food delivery startup here in Kenya with a branch in Uganda as their social media marketing manager. And I was like, wait, this is my first job. You go, girl, let's do a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I'm pretty good at design. I am the ish right now. So it's not a graphic design company. And oh boy, it barely lasted a year. It just went down like,
oh wow.
It sucked so bad.
So I love that though. Like you got interested in Photoshop and you fell in love with the design. And then you leverage that into being a social media marketing manager, which I feel like is already something a lot of people would talk themselves out of. I don't necessarily have the experience to be doing this. I'm not qualified to doing this, but you were like, hell yeah, social media marketing manager. I'm going to go do it.
Oh, yeah. Prior to that, I used to be very into like the self-publishing space, specifically with the queer romance. So I used to be a book blogger, a book reviewer. I used to do book covers for self-published author. I remember I was on Net Gallery, so publishers would give you like an advanced copy of an author's book. I'd review it, then I'd have like some graphics. Whenever an author with like a small budget wanted to do a blog tour, I would create like their social media assets.
Wow.
So I was doing a bit of that before, like, hey, let's do more of this. And so social media made sense because I had taken like HubSpot has like a free social media course. I had taken that. Lead Pages used to have like some free courses of social media. I had taken that. Buffer had like a blog and they have tutorials on YouTube. Hootsuite had some tutorials on YouTube. There were lots of like free courses, tutorials on YouTube. So I had like taken that, like I had downloaded it to my laptop. I would go back, rewatch it. And that was pretty much my education in social media marketing. And so jumping on social media at that point was like, you've done all the tutorials. You've learned as much as you can, might as well put this out there and get some money out of it. So for me, it just became like a no-brainer. Let's do this.
Oh, I love that because I think that's one of the biggest pieces of head trash that holds people back in starting their business, the education component. I don't know enough to feel comfortable starting. And I love that you took this tactic of, well, I'm going to learn as much as possible. Okay, I've learned as much as possible. Let's go do something. Because I think that's the part of education that we don't really talk enough about. There's only so far that studying and learning can take you. At some point, you're really only going to absorb it through action and seeing what happens. I really, really love that you didn't get hung up on the type of education, but rather what skills it imparted, what skills you gained from it. Because I think there are so many people that have asked me, like, where should I go get my degree if I want to be a copywriter? And I'm like, don't go get a copywriter. Don't do
There's
it.
actually a reason behind that. I dropped out of college. So like I was going to get a degree anyway.
Yeah. Well, hey, and I think that's great because I have 3 degrees with, our broken American education system and have been paying off very consistently all of my student loan debt for the last 20 years. And still
It's not ending. What the heck?
it's never ending. And I think I've still got 70,000 left because I haven't.
How much the school fees if it's 7,000 left?
70. Yeah. Oh God. Well, I saw at one point last year, I was looking deeper into my finances because I was stuck at home during the pandemic. Like I've watched all of the Netflix. I've done all the things. I guess I ought to improve my life and figure out what's going on. And wound up I had paid off, I think like $25,000 in credit card debt the year prior. So I was like, all right, well, student loans are still a problem. Let me look at this stuff. And when I looked at it, I actually noticed that one of them had over more than doubled since I took it out, even though I've been paying on it consistently, because there have been times that I couldn't afford the full payment, but I'm still making payments under. So all this time, the interest has been being added and compounded and added and compounded. And then I looked at this thing and I was like, wow, this is ridiculous that I've been paying on this for 20 years. I've probably already paid it back by this point with the amount of payments.
Paid it back.
And I still owe twice as much. So I did what I think some people think is not very smart and liquidated my retirement accounts and just paid that off. I'm like, I can't have this thing balloon anymore. I need to shut it down so that I can actually, and then, hey, good news. I'm alive right now, so I don't need the retirement funds. So I've got time to earn it back and save some more. And if I die tomorrow, well, then I didn't need the retirement funds anyway. So everybody that's
a morbid outlook.
I know. Well, but so many people were telling me, you're going to need that retirement money. You're going to need that retirement money. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to need it if I'm constantly just drowning in debt. So
yeah, it's going to go anyway.
Mm-hmm. So I'll have time to make it back as long as I can actually make a dent in this. And so that was, and this isn't me crapping all over higher education or anything. Our system is definitely broken in the States. Definitely broken. There are benefits to higher education, but that's not the only kind of education there is. And that's why I love what you did, especially now with what I would say is almost a democratization of information. I would say when I was younger, 20 years ago, a lot of this information that we can get freely with a couple of, keystrokes was still held back by gatekeepers that were in charge of picking who got the knowledge. Now we have it in our hands. It's fantastic.
Yeah. You get all that information, all that knowledge for free. You just have to look for it and you learn so much. Like you don't even need to go to college if it's not as you can afford right now. It's free stuff online and building a portfolio. You're just as great as the person with the higher education.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think a lot of people that are pursuing higher education, because I know that this is true of me. So I'm making a little bit of a statement here, but I think there are a lot of people, at least in the past, who have done higher education as a stall tactic because they don't really know what to do, but they know how to do school. So maybe at some point while I'm doing school, I can figure out what I want to do.
Yeah. Like you buy yourself a few years, like think of your future.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did when I got my master's degree, which actually helped. But, I would say if I had found copywriting a couple years earlier and gone into that, those 2 years that I spent on my master's degree, what would my real world marketing experience look like? And that's I got some great education. I actually learned about copywriting while getting my master's degree. So I can't go back in time and say I would never did.
You can't put it down because doing the master's gives you the opportunity to learn about copywriting. So I think it did its job in a different way, but it sort of did its job.
Absolutely. I took the step I needed to take at the time, the only one that I knew that I could take confidently, or the only one that I felt confident about. We'll say that. So I took that step and it led me to where I am. So I can't look back on that and say it was the wrong step, Yeah,
it definitely worked.
So tell me more about social media. I mean, you took on a bunch of this self-education.
Yes.
Was that before you were doing the book marketing? Like how did all that work? How did it come together?
Yeah, so the book marketing was my first ever foray into marketing or graphic design. So when I'm learning something, like a tutorial, I have to pause, do it. I remember there was a time we learned about layer masks and all of that. I like, ooh, this will look good for a book cover. So I had to practice whatever I was teaching on a book cover. That's sort of how I learned.
Uh-huh.
And so while taking like the social media courses, I had to like, let's do all of this. And at that point, that was 2015. I didn't know about Canva. I don't even know if it existed then, but I didn't know much of Canva until like 2019. And so I was doing all of this on Photoshop. And so it was a good way to learn about social media marketing, keep up to date with what I was learning on Photoshop so I don't forget about it, and still keep busy because I was failing badly in school. Like it's a 4-year course and I took 10 years to do it. So like I had dragged this on for so long, like I had to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my mom was like, I'm going to stop paying for your school fees because you keep failing. It's like, okay. And she's like, you know what? You need to go to school. You need to get like a good degree so you can get a job. I'm like, wait, so the end result here is a job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I just skip university then and get a job. And so that was motivated me. Yeah, like I had no money, man. I had to think about to survive. And so it's like I feel like if there was nothing chasing you, you will keep learning. But she was like, I am going to stop sending money. And I know my mom, she would stop sending me money. So like, okay, this is how this is going out. Like give me a month to figure myself out and do something. So getting a job and having a business was like, oh, extra money. I can tell my mom, I don't need you anymore.
There's something to be said for negative motivation, which is that idea, like you have to show someone that they're wrong about you or that you don't really need them or their approval. That got me through a lot of my early days in business. Just so many people telling me that I was smoking something or wrong about my ability to create that. And one particularly loud ex telling me that copywriting was a scam. And I was being snowed by con men. Oh yeah, it was interesting how many people, but in retrospect, I can see why they believed the way they did because they didn't know anybody that had made it work before. So this thing that I'm trying to do is completely unknown and scary to them. Yeah. Whereas I know people that have done it, so it's not nearly as scary to me. So I don't know. That's just really interesting.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had to go, since they couldn't see that perspective, I had to go prove them wrong. And ever since then, they believe me a lot more now when I say I'm going to do something, even if they don't understand it.
In your face.
Yes, they're already in my corner because I've already proved them wrong once. And I say this with all love because Mom, you're probably listening. Love you, Mom.
I was right. It worked.
I was right. Yeah. The satisfaction.
Anyway, so I got so overconfident because getting a job is one thing. At the job, they tell you what to do. And it was my first job, so I was super cautious because yeah, you're gonna realize that I have no degree here, man. Like all this thing I'm showing you right now, this is YouTube tutorials. So I felt like at some point they would see through this and realize that I learned this in 3 months. You can just get somebody out there who would do better than I did. So I was super cautious. And so I was like, let's get some stability, some extra money. So starting a business was a no-brainer. And at that point, I was doing some flyers, some graphics for some friends. So to me, starting a graphic design business, either as a consultant / agency and get some extra cash, you just was like, oh, let's do this. I made a mistake because, see, for my friends, I never charged them. And so even if they don't like my design, if you told me that I spent hours on this thing and you don't like it, and you're not paying for it, hey, I would slap you back to your mother's womb. Keep quiet. Be like, the shit that I've done for you, keep it to yourself. If you want changes, give me some change. So keep quiet.
I already think I know my subject line when I send out the promo email here. I'm going to slap you back into your mother's womb. But I think it's really, really interesting how you're basically describing imposter syndrome at work. Like any day they're going to figure out, I don't really know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go start a business. That's the interesting. I want to know more about that connection because I would say that most people I know and most people I've worked with have said the exact opposite. Like I feel the imposter syndrome, so I'm not going to start a business. So I'm really curious about your take on this.
I wanted extra money. And keep in mind that I had only been doing this for like a few months, seriously. And it's a tutorial, so it's not like I spend my entire day watching tutorials. Like for university degree, I was pretty much in school. I had 7 a.m. classes, and sometimes my evening classes ended at 6 p.m. Like almost my daybreak gone. But tutorials, each one was like 20 minutes. So it was like put it together. I didn't spend that long learning it. And since I didn't spend that long learning it, I felt like I don't have the qualifications. It's literally a tutorial. There was no expert guiding me. There is no paper. Some random outside could probably do the same damn thing with the same tutorial. So I felt like if I was to get another job, I would have the same problem. They were like, "How did you learn it?" I'd be like, yeah, there is this speed tutorial on YouTube. I can't say that like that one. So I needed a situation where nobody will ask me, "How did you learn this?" and start a business or be a freelancer. Just felt like nobody's ever gonna question me in this. Let's go this direction.
Interesting.
That was just what was in my head at that point.
No, but I think that makes sense. And that could be a really powerful mindset shift for the people that are listening that feel like they're dealing with imposter syndrome. What if it was, I don't want to be asked the questions that I know the job is going to ask me about my qualifications. So I'm just going to go freelance and help people with it, where they're going to look at my work and they're going to like it.
Ask me that.
I know, because I think that was the biggest learning for me too, especially in recent years. Now that I've been doing this for over a decade, there are a lot of things that just come very easily to me. And so I can create a very complex looking marketing strategy in like 15 minutes at a coffee shop on my tablet and send it to someone. And they are under the impression that it took me like weeks of work. And sometimes I almost feel guilty, like I'm tricking people because it doesn't take me that long. But after having some talks with one of my mentors, started thinking about, why do we get so attached to this idea of, if I didn't spend whatever a significant amount of time is on this thing, that it's somehow worth less?
Yeah, you technically spent all that time learning and accumulating skills and experience prior to that 15 minutes.
Yes, that's true. But I mean, I even heard that in your story where you were talking about it with the job. You know, I didn't want to explain to them that I just watched a YouTube video. But what if that was a strength? Like, well, I watched a YouTube video and I taught myself this. Like, whoa, shit.
I didn't think of it then. Now I do. Now I'm like, I can learn anything, give me 20 minutes. But then I was like, it's YouTube tutorial. Anybody can access this stuff. They could just find somebody out there and like give them a few hours. Maybe they'll even do better than I would. So I was really scared at that point. Like, let's have some like security blanket. That way nobody's gonna question me ever.
Yeah.
And so that was what I was like my rationale at that point. And it did not work.
Okay, it did not work. So scratch that for everybody. I was saying, here's a reframe. Tell me what didn't work.
For you. It didn't work for me for several reasons. First of all, see, when you're doing graphic design as an employee, the company has guidelines. They give you like the colors, the font, they like a past history, all the assets they give to you. When you're doing stuff for your friends, because they're your friends and they're not paying you, no matter how ugly you do it, it's probably better than what they would have made. And so they technically have absolutely no right to give me a critique. When you're doing this for a client with like absolutely no asset given to you, and they expect you to like bring it and then somehow take whatever is in their head and give it to them, they will critique this stuff to the end of mankind.
Oh, yeah.
It's always turned out very nice. Like, oh, I love it. Like, oh, thank you. But can you change that font? Can you like slant it like 45 degrees? I don't like that red. Make it orange. Oh, take it back to red. A lighter red. Let's try a darker red. I was like, shut up, woman. Get to the damn point.
That's the funniest thing about working in a creative field so much, is just getting comfortable with that idea that most clients have no idea what they want. And even if they have an idea of what they want, they don't know how to communicate it very well. And so a lot of this is going to be about your ability to read between the lines as a creative person, kind of fill in the gaps based on whatever kind of screening or intake process that you had, and be able to iterate the way that they they tell you to, within reason. Obviously, if it's like, change it to red, no, change it back. Change it to black, no, change it back.
I just thought, my patience went to like -100 real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and I get
like,
that.
After, it's so stressful.
Oh, no, I totally get that. I actually had to develop some processes to circumvent that up front. And a lot of it requires what I think some freelancers would say is a little bit of extra effort. But me putting in that 10 to 15 minutes up front to set the expectations and explain how this works in a way that they get. And then every time we deviate from that, I'm like, okay, so remember we talked about that this is how this works. Here's what I need from you. Here's what's not really going to be very helpful for me. So my process looks something like this when I'm turning over a draft. Well, first of all, the client with the agency that I work with and everything like that, they're with me every step of the way. We have a kickoff call where the writing team and I ask all the questions that we need to ask to get this project up. We send over an outline and our proposed ideas. We get buy off then so that we're not just like shooting in the dark. We'll send them, the writing team and I will go back and forth to draft this thing based on the approved outline. And then when it comes time to share the drafts with the client, here's my trick number one. I film a walkthrough video of me literally explaining, here's the email, here's what we're thinking, here's where we have knowledge gaps, here's the assumption. And so I just walk them through anything that I think they might zero in on and critique me for themselves. So I know that this event date might not be right. I know that this bonus might not be right. I'm just making some assumptions here. I'm counting on you to correct me on this. Now is the time, we're in round one. This is where all of the significant changes happen if they need to be. If we need to rewrite this story, it's not working, let me know. If there are things in here that you hate and you never want me to say again, let me know. If there are things in here that you love, also let me know so that we can do more of that and less of the things that you hate. Yes. Criticism is part of my job and I need it. So I'm not going to rebel against it. As long as you don't tell me I'm a shitty person, I can handle anything that you have to say. So just let me know your honest opinions and that will help us get through this. And so if we rewrite it in round one and get it back to them in round two and they want another rewrite, that's when the wall comes down. And I'm like, so we talked about this in the previous couple steps. You got your rewrite. We can't do another rewrite at this stage. So what can we do to make sure that this email that we just redrafted for you works? And then I'll workshop out with them and ask that, could we try this? Does that make you okay? How does this one feel? And I'll basically get their buy off before I send the team to write. But all of that took exactly what you said, me losing my patience with going. I think some projects are in my early days, I went like 7 or 8 rounds of revisions with people. And that was before Google Docs was a thing. So maybe you're familiar with this with a designer like V1, V7, V Final,
like
V Final,
V_2, like that.
Yes.
Over and over and over. And I realized that I did not have patience.
Yes.
Like, and like after the third one, I'm like, are you done right now?
Yes.
I am done. Like, just like,
I'm over this. Take it and go.
And then it happened over and over and over again. That whatever passion I had for graphic design shriveled up, died, and ran away. Like it just disappeared completely. It's like at that point, I'm like, this is not for me because like I didn't have any processes for this. And I realized that doing designs for a friend, doing as a job, and doing this as a business owner who you sort of have like the customer is the king here. You gotta give them what they wanted because they're paying for this, And even as a client, when you get a design you don't like, you feel some kind of way. You're like, let's just change something here and there. I'm not happy with what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah,
but I can take that. After 2 revisions, and you give me something else, I am like, I see your emails. I would not respond to it for like 24 hours. Then later I'm like, oh, I apologize for the inconvenience. I was caught up. I was done. I was just pissed off.
Well, that's one way to buy yourself time.
They get the hint. I'm like, I want you to realize that Abigail took a day to reply, then 2 days, then 3 days. Maybe she's giving me a hint right now.
I think we hint too much sometimes, though, honestly. Like, I've been, and this is a skill that I've learned how to practice. I think a lot of people, they're in some sort of weird awe about my level of bluntness, but I'm like, this has gotten me way further than just here's where I'm at. Here's why I'm unhappy. What can we do about this? And people know where they stand with me at any given point in time. And they know that I'm not like asking them to read in between the lines. And this is not a judgment of you saying like, take a hint here. Cause I did a lot of that in my early days in business too. Wow. I get that though, that feeling of like, I'm so far beyond done with this project at this point.
With you right now.
Mm-hmm. And to my credit, I've learned how to do the systems now to where that's rarely the case. And I can spot the people that are going to drive me that special kind of crazy. I can see them from far away and be like,
I'll punch you through the screen.
Mm-hmm.
That was my mood.
Yeah, I'm sending energy that makes you detour and go look at those people over there. I'm trying to be invisible right now. Don't even come my way.
I can't see you. You're invisible to me right now. Abigail is not here.
Mm-hmm.
Abigail is in the void.
And that brings up an interesting point that for everybody that's new, or if you've been in this rut for a while where you're struggling with clients that are kind of driving you nuts, one thing to look at is if you've got opportunities where you can improve your process, right? Am I filtering people out that aren't a good fit? What is happening in where do these break down? Noticing where you're starting to get unhappy, and can I change something? But also, in addition to that, you can improve your processes and get better communication with clients. And I like to think I'm some sort of an example of that. I don't know if I'm the best example, but my way is one way of doing it. But your gut is also valid in this when you start your business. And if you don't like working with people, and if you don't like doing certain kinds of projects, why would you build a business around that? It's your business to decide what you want to do. Don't make yourself get up and do shit that's making you miserable.
I know. It's such I was so excited to learn these tutorials, do designs, do website mockups, and then Lovely Sin came over, and then all my my enthusiasm just crashed and burned. And it's always that. I guess I don't even know what I projected out there, because I got so many of them like that always had this change and this change, or let's do this. Did I look like I was gonna do all those changes for forever and ever? Was I giving all that vibe? I don't know. But it kept happening, and it's okay. At that point I realized, one, I don't like graphic design enough for this. I don't like it enough for this anymore. I can't do this for professionally. Two, I cannot handle this kind of changes and feedback they're giving me. My patience level at that point, even sometimes right now, it's not that high. We were I want this and this and this. Oh, nope, blocking you right now.
Well, and I think
I couldn't.
That's a great point, though, that okay, now that I've gone into this and I've built a business around this, no, I don't think I love it that much. I don't love it that much to put up with this.
I can't do this for years. This constantly. Oh,
yeah. This happens way more often than you might think, guys, I think this sounds really interesting. I'm kind of passionate and enthusiastic about it, and I see other people doing it. So I figure I can figure this out and make some money for myself. Let's go. And then you go down that path and go, nope. No. Back up. Can I just press the undo button? Get out of here.
Oh my God, my interest did not survive that. And that's the thing. Just because you're good at something, it's a hobby or it's an interest or a skill, doesn't mean you're able to turn it into a long-term business. Because when it becomes a business, the focus is no longer you. The focus becomes it's based on the client. And for your business to actually grow and for you to get referrals, so you don't do all that hunting every single time. You have to make them happy. But if your happiness comes with your frustrations, then it's not worth it anymore.
Yes, that is such an amazing point. And I just want to reiterate, if their happiness comes at the expense of you being frustrated all the time, then it's not worth it. Don't build your business on the back of you being frustrated all the time. Just don't do it.
Don't do it. It's not oh, Jesus, not worth it.
All right. So at this point, you have found this thing that you love. You've educated yourself on it. You've gotten the job. You've started the business. You've realized, I don't like that business. What happened after that? So you just shut it all down?
Yeah, I told them like, you know what? Bye. Like, Cindy, you've been lovely. No, you have not been. But bye. Let's move on from this. Just dropped everything, like disappeared. I used to have like a Fiverr and Upwork, a freelancer, closed it all down. Like, no, not doing this anymore.
That's one way to do it for sure.
Right? Just the thought of it, like, as a website ever inspired just this ball of resentment in your chest.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, for my mind, like for my mental health and my happiness, I can't see any of this for a while. Just that at some point, that annoys freelancer used to have like this blue logo. That color, that shade of blue for a long period of time annoyed the crap out of me. It's just like you see a color blue and you're like, yep, here goes my misery. Moving on.
Oh God, that's great. I can't even look at this color. I don't like it.
It's just so bloody frustrating.
Oh man, that's great. Well, and something similar happened to me too. Well, actually, it's really funny because I was telling this story earlier today, but when I first started my business, some really helpful friends of mine, or trying to be helpful, created a Yelp profile for me. And this was right when Yelp was taking off. I mean, in the dark ages several years ago. They created a profile for me thinking that it would help people find me, which no, it didn't. Because if people go to Yelp looking for copywriters, they're looking for someone like on Fiverr. That's what they're expecting to find. So I never got any good leads from there, but I did have to deal with trolls from there. Hey. So like if I was my blunt self in a forum somewhere and I stepped on the wrong toes and somebody was like, this uppity bitch needs to be taken down a peg or two.
Oh my God, thank you.
They went straight to my Yelp profile and gave me 1 star and like shat all over me. And so that was my first indication that like, I don't have to do things that I don't like in my business. So you know what? These people started a Yelp profile page for me and I'm going to shut it down because I'm tired of dealing with these guys trying to troll me and make me quit. It is not going to happen. So,
jobless, man.
I know. Well, and I used to let that stuff bother me a lot too when I got trolled, and it still bothers me too. So I'm not going to lie, because I put off starting this podcast for a while because I was afraid of trolls. But then when it finally happened, I was like, oh no, 14-year-old troll Angie is thrilled with this. Yeah, yes, please comment. Don't block me when I run ads for my podcast. Just comment spam so that you bump me up in the algorithm. Thank you. Thank you, friends. We're bumping me up in the algorithm so more people listen.
All those reviews.
Yeah.
All those comments.
Like that one sign that you see on the internet, like, come check out the worst coffee that one chick on TripAdvisor ever had in her life.
Yeah, but then that's like that curiosity brings people like drives business.
Oh, yes. So that was a long, rambly way of saying you don't have to do shit you don't like to do. Don't get caught in that trap of thinking because you started something and because it would sometimes be hard to undo those things. You know, I once I had just renewed a lease and then had to break it and move. And all of those things were not convenient or easy to do, but they were doable. So every decision that you make can be unmade, not without grief necessarily, but it can be done. And I love that you didn't get attached to this. Well, I started this business, so I'm just going to like, grind my teeth and like, get through it somehow.
I don't want that stress in my life. If it's not working out, I am done.
Oh, I love that. I want to put that on a t-shirt and just sell it to entrepreneurs. If it's not working out, I don't want it in my life. No.
Yeah, like, is it worth all the stress? It is not. Like, I'm just like close my eyes and pretend it didn't happen. Like, remember how like some people had like embarrassing college days, and now you're like, who was that person? I don't know her. It never happened. Let's pretend.
I know. I think that's why so many people are freaked out by like reunion parties and stuff like that. But I'm not even that person that you knew back then anymore. So no, I don't want to come back and like rekindle all of that shit. Like, we're just going to walk away and pretend that never happens. So you walked away from the agency and pretended it never happened. What happened after? What were your next steps? Where'd you go from there?
Yeah. So, but I still wanted some sort of income coming in. I still wanted like money that was not attached to an employer, so that should you realize that this stuff you're paying me top dollar for, I learned it for free on YouTube, and you're like, Abigail, come. That design you did, I just saw a tutorial on YouTube that looks really similar to what you just did. Like, just in case that ever happens, let's have like a plan B. So last of all, I discovered like marketing, and marketing was like so fun. Like on like graphic design, where my patience went to like -100. Whenever I had setbacks in marketing, I was like, oh my God, something new. And I still learned that through free stuff before eventually I said to get a CA certification just to have like sandpaper in my life. Because once again, the college dropped out of it. So I figured, Mom, you sent me to a foreign country. I have taken 10 years for a 4th-degree course. Let me just have something to give to you. Like, I did this. Thank you. But before that, it's also YouTube, also HubSpot, also Google Academy, Facebook Blueprint, all of that before like getting the certification. And so like I left the startup, I moved to another company. Now this company is owned by a couple, and each of them have several businesses under their name. So they have like an investment company owned by 2 of them. They're the directors, and then companies under them. So for him, he has an architecture company and a construction company. For her, she has a publishing company. Remember, I had done some publishing stuff, so that really came in handy. And then she had like a political side of this. She was doing some work in politics. So I was like, ooh, I have never done construction. That looks fun. Never done politics. That looks fun. I have done a bit for like gay romance, lesbian romance, working with authors. Now she's doing Christian publishing. Definitely worlds apart, but let's see what's fun is in here.
Yeah.
So I came in, still had a very subpar CV, and I told them point blank, I have not graduated from university, but here is my portfolio. For some reason, it looked attractive enough that we were on board. I'm like, you guys, are you all blind? But anyway, thank you very much for the job.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that there's a certain amount to be said for just owning the perceived flaws. If you know that some people are probably going to call attention to the fact that you don't have a university degree, you could just say, I'm not even going to hide it. I don't have a university degree. What I do have is some experience. Look at this.
Yeah, in my portfolio, like I don't have a degree. That's well and good, but look at the portfolio I've done. Look at my designs. Look at the social media posts I had done, the graphics and all that, the book covers I had done, because she was into publishing. Of course, the book covers I gave her were like on the PG side of things. Like, here are the book covers. They were very PG friendly, like, yeah, nothing. There, nothing, no boobs hanging out, no abs anywhere in sight. Like, you know, this is very Christian friendly.
Oh, my lady that does the writing for me. Shout out to Claire. She's fantastic. We've been joking about how I need to pull more out of context quotes from these podcasts because we have so many interesting side conversations. No abs anywhere in sight needs to be. Love that.
Listen, like 9 out of every 10 gay romance book cover, some guy is doing this with a shirt on. It's like has like a cowboy hat. Tilting weirdly. I'm like, who starts like that anyway? But anyway.
It's either the cowboy hat or the Fabio hair.
Yeah, or he's shirtless, or he has some muscle, or there's like some weird motorcycle somewhere in the background for some reason.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
like, okay, this is a Christian company, Abigail. Let's go to our portfolio. What looks very clean in here? Like the cleanest stuff in here. Like that's one. Here we go. Here my portfolio.
That was another smart thing to do, though, because as somebody that has hired writers, I can't tell you how many people have they haven't put that kind of thought into their portfolio, and it shows. So it's like, show me something that's even remotely relevant to what you think you can do for me, please. Like, yeah. I'm asking you to write emails, and if you send me a book, that's great. I know you can write books, but can you write emails? I would like to actually know that. So you send them book covers, and then you take that step of acknowledging this. Like, some of these are not going to fit within their brand, so let's just.
Like, yes, like, wait, hold up.
That's super smart.
That is not going to work out here. Take that out. So they give it to them. They loved it, and so I did that for 2 years as your head of marketing for all the 4 companies.
Wow.
There. So for the construction company, I was head of marketing. For the architecture, I was. For the publishing, I was. Actually, in 2019, 2020. 2018, 2019, I helped over 20 authors in Kenya and East African countries publish their first 2 books. So I'm like, ooh,
that's awesome.
Fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so awesome. Even in the 2017 election, one of the candidates under us not only got nominated, but he's currently one of the sitting members of county assembly. So like we actually got him seated in a seat of like, I'm pretty good at this.
Yes.
Let's make a business out of this.
I see this pattern.
That's like my default, like, yeah, I know, like whenever it's going on, like, wait, there's more money to be had here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make a business out of it.
That's the other catchphrase that I'm sensing from this episode. Like, I'm pretty good at this. Let's make a business out of it.
I know. Oh my God. And so at that point, I was juggling this Australian client I got, who's a photographer in Melbourne, and the time zones were really stressful. Having working for like the 4 companies plus somebody in Australia, like an 8-hour time difference, and still thinking, let's start a business. I was so ridiculously ambitious, but I'm like, I'm Abigail. I can do it all. I cannot do it all. Let me tell you right now.
Yes, you listening to this, you also, I'm going to stomp on your dreams and crush your soul a little bit here, but you also cannot do it all. Just let you know. You're welcome to try and prove me wrong if you need that negative motivation.
Do it. And if you prove her wrong, you get to know what you like, what you're good at, and what you're definitely not good at. And that's also fun. Like I wouldn't touch design anymore because Cindy is really for me. But I had that experience to fall back on. I can still do design, but I know that if you hire me as a designer, like a full-on designer, I am out. I wouldn't be able to handle that. Mm-hmm. So do it. If you're thinking I am, like when I was a kid, my mom would always tell me, you can do anything you want to do. Like, if put it through the best school, like you can do anything you put your mind to do. And so growing up, I always thought I can do anything I want. I put my mind to it, I can do it. Which is why learning things was like came so easily. Which is why I had 4 clients, 4 companies looking for somebody in Australia. I was trying to start a business. I was like, I am Abigail. I am superhuman. When God made me, was like, take it all, Abigail, take it all the talents. And so I'm like, yeah, I can do it all.
I can do it all.
And so I just started like a marketing consultant / agency. And oh my God, I barely slept, number one, because it was bloody stressful. Mm-hmm. Like I remember at 2 a.m. I'll be up trying to get some stuff done for the clients in Australia. Then on a Monday at 8:30, I had a meeting for the architecture company. Tuesday, same time, I had a meeting for the construction company. The publishing, the authors were like, oh, how I want to format this. How are we going to sell this book? I'm like, okay, it's like, calm down. Just drop it. I will get back to it. So there was always something battling for my attention, but I was not going to give up. Like, I can do it all. Just like sleep. It's for the week. Let's do this. So I went all in and I crashed, number one. Number two, because I was everywhere and because I was so full of myself and because I thought like marketing is my thing, like my eyes closed, I can do it all. I didn't have a strategy. For my clients, for all of them, I always had a strategy for them. We'd always had weekly meetings to like sign up for what's happening. So this was going to happen this week. This is our action plan. These are the results we expect. This is what's going to be going out every single day. For myself, I did not do any of that. I didn't even know who my target audience was. Like LinkedIn, thank you, brought me leads consistently, but literally means every single person. Like there was no criteria to use to filter it beyond being you're a first, second, or third degree connection on LinkedIn. That was all. So I had no strategy. I had no idea who my target client was. I didn't put any of this structure that I did for my clients, and it was going nowhere. It's what it was to ask me. The company was called the Growth Metric. It was asked me, what does the Growth Metric do? I'll just tell me do marketing. What kind of marketing? I would say enter marketing. Who do you work with? Like, well, anybody who needs marketing. That was pretty much it. There was like no structure. absolutely nothing, and so you struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you get great clients. Sometimes you get not so great clients. Sometimes you have guys who, because they think you're a LinkedIn connection and you've chatted like a few times, they think you're gonna do this stuff for free in exchange for like a nice LinkedIn post. I'm like, F you, that's not gonna pay my bills.
No, publicity
like,
don't pay the bills. Thank you.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're so nice on LinkedIn. I'm like, yeah, I'm nice on LinkedIn, but you weren't giving me anything to do on LinkedIn in the first place. If it involves actual work, like time is money. So it was so stressful. It was all over the place. One time I was like, do I make it into a subscription? Next time I'm like, let's make it into an e-commerce where you sell like printables and tutorials and worksheets. I'm like, oh, no, let's do this. I was constantly oscillating around like subscription, e-commerce, let's do like a bundle or something. I was like literally everywhere, just going nowhere. I had the 4 clients for the investment company, somebody in Australia, like, hi, Abbie, how is that design going? It's like, it was so bloody stressful. Then at some point, I stopped eating.
Ooh.
And I used to have like an eating disorder for a while, and it was fine. But then I would realize that it's 7 p.m. Did I have breakfast today? Have I drank water today? Then I started getting constant migraines. Like they were constant, and my migraines get bad enough. My senses get heightened. So lights get too bright, smells are too sharp, noises are too loud. I just want to like stay in the dark and just like cover myself. I remember I was in the middle of the street once, and a strong migraine hit me, and I was crossing, and then like cars honking. I had to hold like a colleague event. They had the same bus stop, and like close my eyes and like, just take me to the stage, because right now I can't open my eyes. It's so bright, it's loud. Like somebody's like, there's like a 20 selling chips, fries at the side, and I can smell the grease. It's making me nauseous. Ooh. Like there's like so many things battling with my senses. I cannot handle. I need to like shut down. Health-wise.
Yeah, I had similar migraines back in grad school. It was, and I kept a journal for my doctors, and it was the same kind of triggers. It was lack of sleep. It was poor nutrition, and it was high stress levels that would bring on. And it was exactly that kind of migraine. When it hit me, I just needed to be in a bubble with nothing else happening.
Yeah, like I would close I would put on like my thickest curtains, turn the lights so it's completely dark. And I'd have to be in a place where there is no sound coming in, there is no light, just complete darkness on every side. And I stay that way for hours. Sometimes if I'm lucky, I wake up the next day, it's gone. If I'm unfortunate, there's still like some side effects. So I have to call and tell them that right now I'm having bad migraines. I can't go out. And luckily they knew I had migraines regularly. Like at least twice a month I'd get those migraines. So I tell them like, okay, I'm not gonna hit me right now. I can't step outside because there's so many things out there. If somebody honks right now, I might throw up. I cannot handle this. My senses are overloading. So I'll get this stuff done later. But right now I need like isolation. And this crystal literally almost killed me with the stress levels and the migraines and everything.
I know. Like, how long did that go on?
I did it for like 2 years. Like I did not want to give up. I thought that maybe, for the graphic design, it was only 1 year. I thought maybe persistence would be key. The only one says consistency, persistence. And so even though it was literally killing me, I thought, you know what? It will get easier. It will get better. The first few years are always the hardest. Just persevere. Then my migraines kept getting worse and worse, and I was throwing up. And there are times in which my sight got so bad that I'm like, wait, what happened? You know how you black out? People are talking, but then it's like you blink and it's been 30 minutes and you're like, wait, what's happening right now?
I used to do that with my old day job and driving home. Like I'd blink and I'd be turning onto my street and I'm like, wow. I was driving 70 miles an hour, completely checked out. Wow, how scary is that?
I know. It's like, okay. After 2 years, I was like, you know what? I've given it 3 years of my best efforts. 2 years of stress and migraines and disassociating. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is not. It's just not meant to be. Maybe later in the future, after I have less stuff on my plate and I make a strategy, I will come back to this. But right now, I can't go on like this. And it's literally killing me. Like let's just drop this.
Yeah. I'm so glad you had that realization. Like, I see so many other people struggling with that same thing, that the first couple years are the hardest and you've got to struggle with it. But
whoever said that advice, shut up. I know you're right, but in some cases, that's the worst advice to tell somebody.
I know, like, don't work yourself into the ground over this. And what if it could be easier? What if you're just sticking with the hard path because that's what you've been told is the way forward, but maybe that's not the way forward for you. And there actually is an easier way that will not kill you.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. Like, that was such a stressful period. Like, I love marketing. I still love marketing. I still do that. I mean, next year's an election year, and I've been pretty active with helping some political parties. I think 5 of them have come together a coalition, and I'm the head of marketing for that. We had a press conference last week, so I'm still active in that. But I love marketing a lot, but I don't like marketing to the point where I am willing to like blink and I'm like, wait, it's 7 p.m. I've not drunk water the entire day. I've not eaten. I can't recall what I have done this entire day. I know I was doing something. I was replying to emails. I was getting my work done, but I have no collection of it. Like, I can't, like, I'm not like going to an email and you're like, when did I write that email? When did that happen? That was me for 2 years.
Wow, that's crazy. So you hit that point where you decided it's not worth it. This day, if I keep going, I'm gonna die from this kind of stress.
Yeah, it's too stressful. It's like if anybody has migraines and you're in a stressful place, like if it gets that bad that senses are going overdrive and you're throwing up, that's a hint. Stop.
Yes, stop.
Like, stop. It's not worth it anymore.
And I heard it recently, and I love this explanation. Like, pain is inevitable. Everybody has pain, but you don't have to suffer. Suffer is a choice. And I think that explains the difference between people who can go through something like very horrific and traumatic and come out the other side and still be fairly well adjusted and like mentally strong, versus people that have taken that on and really just suffered and not found a way to stop the suffering. So it just they keep going through that cycle and reliving it over and over again and stressing themselves out. So sometimes, a lot of the times, honestly, I believe that that suffering is a choice, and we feel like we don't have that choice. So we get stuck in that cycle of suffering. But you hit that wall. You decided, I'm not going to suffer anymore. What happened? Yeah. Did you close down that agency like you closed down the first one?
Yeah. So like I paused it. I still believe deep down I'm going to go back to it because it's you know how it like so open. I had done membership, e-commerce, bundles. Like I can come back to this, like cross some things out. So I still knew that domain year after year, the hosting year after year. I'm gonna come back to it, but not right now, because right now I'm on For Her Empire, and it's like, okay, I have gone through all the highs and lows, and like I have been like at some pretty low point, really pretty low point. I feel like I've understood to a degree what like the business journey is. Like at least I know what not to do, if nothing else. I can definitely tell you what not to do. I've been there. And so after that, I'm like, I still want to start a business. I still love marketing, but not like this. Yeah. So in 2020, when the pandemic happened, well, everyone was like, oh, pandemic. I was like, yay, pandemic. Like, anyone who's affected, I'm so sorry, but like, I'm so introverted. I'm a homebody who does not like going out. My boss has to beg me to leave the apartment. So I was like, I think I'll go out.
I know a lot of people were super happy that they've already got their comfy blanket over their head.
I know. That period. I remember in March when the pandemic hit here seriously, and then the president gave a mandate that work from home and not more than 5 people in the office space. And so only those who were absolutely necessary, like who could not work from home, stayed. I was like, I can work from home. Adios. Yep. And so from the second week of March to the second week of April, I think I only went out like 5 times. And each time was to buy food stuff. And even then, I would order it online on the website. I would go there, pick it up, and come back. Yep. I would pay for delivery, but it was 2 minutes away, and the delivery fee was ridiculous. Like, bring it lower. They did not. Like, fine, F you. I could pick it up myself. That was all I went out for. Then my boss was like, have you got out today? No. Have you seen the sun today? Like, I can open the window and see the sun. What the heck? What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, get out of the office. We're like, no, like, you know what? We're going to have a group lunch. Like, just so we like see each other, not on Zoom. There'll be appropriate spacing. We're going to have like a go-to meet. I'm like, lunch is on you. Okay, I'll be out. So I only went up when they promised me lunch.
Yep.
But 2020 was a good year because I'm like, after all the highs and lows and the drug startup business, I sat down and figured out, okay, what do I really like? Marketing. Out of all this wonderful, not so wonderful experience, without having structure, and because remember, all this is self-taught. There is never any mentor or any sort of guideline. Like one day I'm learning SEO, the next day I'm learning website design, third day I'm doing social media, just like all over the place. With absolutely no structure. I was reading as I go. And I was like, I don't want anybody to like go through all of it. I don't want anybody to like feel like you have to like hold on to a business that's giving you stress for 2 years.
Yeah.
Or to have a hobby that you like, but maybe they make it to a business because it's not going to work out. So like, okay, what are my experiences? What am I good at? What do I absolutely want to do? I've worked with different types of clients. What kind of clients do I like working with the most? What exactly do I want to do? So I like put all of this down and like, okay, this is what I like. I like marketing. I want to work online because I do not like going out anywhere physically. Like if I could stay without seeing the sun for an entire year. Give me internet. Like, so it has to be online. It has to be like marketing related. I want to work with women, and I want to work with people who are still in their first 2-3 years of business. You're still new to it. You're still like experimenting things. You're still like, oh my God, what do I do? Do I drop this? Do I not? That's what I want to do. And once I have all of that down, and I like crafted space for it and see what was on my desk, like really allocated things. Like, okay, so I have publishing. It's middle of the pandemic, so there's no much election stuff going on. So I have free time here. Architectural stuff. I'm not an architect. I can schedule most of this. After working here for like 4 years plus, I pretty much have my cycle going out. So it doesn't take that much long. I could knock out an entire month worth of content in 2 days. Then I have the rest of the day free. I can like throw in my meetings, because that is on Zoom. I'm like, okay, I have this period. I have Tuesdays, lots of work, Monday, lots of work. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is empty. So this is what I'm gonna do. I like made an entire schedule. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is fun now.
I like that.
I done that, and that was fun.
Yeah. And that you can actually look at your experience and circle the things that were the most fun or the most interesting for you and find a way to make that your business. I think that's brilliant, especially since you mentioned that you didn't have a mentor or someone or a coach or somebody that was showing you. You took it upon yourself to take an honest look and reflect back on your experience and figure out, this works, this didn't, this made me miserable over here. None of that. Like cross things off the list. It's totally okay to cross things off the list. Like there's 8 billion people on the face of the planet, and there are more jobs than you could possibly ever list. I could start listing all the jobs out there on this show and just be recording for like months straight, and I would never get through them all. So you can create the job that you want based on everything that you discovered you didn't want when things fell apart. I love that. I love that. I love that. So
if I had a mentor, that probably would have gone a lot faster. Nope. Like how many years of figuring it out?
I firmly believe that we all learn at our own pace, and our timeline is our own. And we are where we are until we learn the thing that we needed to learn, and then we will move on, and not before. So I would say, parting thoughts for somebody that feels stuck and like they're screwing up this business thing. What would you tell them to do to get themselves unstuck?
Here's the thing. The business is for you. So if you say you're stuck, what exactly about it is making you stuck? Like try to analyze what's making you stuck. Is it that you don't like doing stuff? That's why you're stuck. Is that the crazy hours are killing you? That's why you're stuck. Is that your passion for this stuff has died? It's not as exciting as it used to be. That's why you're stuck. Is it that you've been at this for a long time and just quitting right now feels like all my efforts will go down the drain? Is that why you feel stuck? First, figure out what exactly I'm stuck means. And then whatever it is, you can always just ignore them and start something else. And if you don't want to abandon it completely, you can always pause. And months, years down the line, you go back to it. You want to be alive to enjoy this business.
Yes.
And if you're getting like ridiculous migraines and stress, if you're frustrated, if you're like, oh, this again, then it's not working out clearly.
Yes.
So just ditch it.
Ditch it.
I know it sounds easy to say, but honestly, do you like it? No. Then ditch it.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. If you're in a relationship with this person that's stressing you out, that's frustrating you, all the passion has dried up, would you still tell someone to stay there? No, you'd be like, maybe take a break. It's not working out. Maybe you get into better off apart, or maybe just break up. Same thing applies here. That business is needs to be your ex. Like, take a break or break up with it. Yeah. There's you have so much ahead of you. Like, I know it sounds like a weird thing to say, but like, you have so much ahead of you that the opportunities are literally very vast. As you open that one business, you can open 10 more if you wanted to. Nobody says you need to have only one. You can open as many as you want. So don't get too attached to that you're like, no, it's me at this alone. Like, no. This is like an abusive relationship right now. Separate yourself from it and go somewhere else. I love that. That's the best thing. Oh yeah. Like the very definition of when one door closes, another one opens. So don't like bang on the closed door so long that you miss the one that opened up just next door. Yeah. I love this conversation so much. I could go all day with you, but right now I'm going to ask you to tell us where to find you on the internet, where to learn more about you, because I have a feeling lots of people are going to work with you after this. I want to work with you after this. Yay, learn more about me. I'm wonderful. My personality is on point. Energy and personality are definitely important. So where can we find you online? Yeah. So the best way to find me online is actually on my website. I would have said Instagram, but I only use Instagram to stalk my favorite K-pop idols. So I'm not really there for anything. Unless you're like stuck on, I don't want to know you anymore. Just wait. So you just go to my website at forherempire.com. There are forms literally everywhere. There are contact forms, collaboration forms, all of that. Awesome. Fill any form. I will get an email. And then we can start the conversation there. I literally prefer email conversations over any other conversations because, like, if they get so stressed out, I can just be like, okay, let's take a few hours. I will come back to this later. Compared to social media where you sort of have to respond quickly or it looks kind of weird. Yeah. So email is more like my pace. So I prefer email. See, structuring your business in a way that makes you comfortable and feel happy. I love that. Yes, I'm here for it. Yes. So thank you so much for being on the show today. I love everything about your energy and what we talked about. We're going to have to do this again. No, not go yet. I have a gift. You have a gift? Yeah. So because I'm a big fan of like self-learning and because I know there are lots of free stuff out there like YouTube and cool, I have like a PDF of free resources. That's mine. Awesome. Other people have made that have helped me, that I have personally used along my journey. So it's like PDF basically, like 50 plus free resources. Wow. The tutorials, courses, articles that actually make sense. So if you're like me and you want to learn on yourself, or at least just pick something up by yourself, I would really recommend that. Excellent. I give you the link to it, or I say it out? I can make sure that we have that in the show notes, but if you want to say it out loud, I'll make sure that it's that they have a clickable link in the show notes too. Okay, so it's forherempire.com/femtrepreneur-resources. Awesome. I will make sure that they have that link. So thank you again so much for all of your energy, for all your enthusiasm, for sharing so openly and honestly. I appreciate you so much. And I will talk to you soon. Sure. So that is it. Another awesome episode of Permission to Kick Ass on the books.
If you want to know more about the show, if you want to know more about me, Angie Coley, and the mission I'm on to help entrepreneurs punch fear in the face and do big, bold things, then head on over to permissiontokickass.com. That is all one word together, permissiontokickass.com. Make sure to sign up for my email list so that you know whenever there's a hot, fresh, and ready podcast episode out for you. And also on Mondays, I like to send out a little newsletter called Kick Monday's Ass. I'm sure you're totally surprised by that. So thank you for being here with me today. I'm Angie Coley. Make sure that you share this with a friend that needs to hear this message today. Like it, share it, comment wherever you're listening to this today, and let's go kick some ass.